Assalamu alaikum, inshallah you're well, guys. So one of the things I advise those who are looking for an apprenticeship or graduate role is that it's important to network. Networking is a great way to build a relationship with someone who's more experienced than you, get to understand their career a bit better, their experiences, which can then help you decide which particular area of a career you want to go into. And inshallah, the best tool to network on is LinkedIn by far, I'd say. And in today's video, I just want to talk about some of the common mistakes to avoid when you're trying to network and build a relationship. The first mistake I'm going to speak about is when people beat around the bush and message someone on LinkedIn as if they're trying to get to know them on social media. Don't send single messages saying, "Hi, how are you? Can you please help? I have a problem." Because the reality is that working professionals lead very busy lives. So they're not going to want to waste time in an idle conversation with yourself. Get straight to the point, send them everything they need in a single message. They're much more likely to respond if you make it easy for them to do so. And before you send that message, make sure you review it to remove any unnecessary words. So as an example, someone may message me on LinkedIn and say, "Hi Fazan, my name is Tom." Well, I know your name is Tom because I can see it in your profile. So that's 4 words that you could potentially save. An example of a good message, in my opinion, is along the lines of, "Hi Fazan, I'm a big fan of yours on YouTube and I'm also an aspiring apprentice, and I just had a follow-up question to your video on how much an accountant makes. What can I expect to earn as a second-year apprentice whilst working for Grant Thornton?" Obviously, you can wordsmith that a bit better, but the message is good because it's direct and to the point. I know a bit about you, that you're an aspiring apprentice. You've also tried some flattery. You've told me that you're a fan, so that means that I'm more likely to respond to you. And it doesn't have to be flattery. Maybe you can message someone who shares something in common with you. Maybe you went to the same school or university. Whereas if you just opened up with, "Hi, how are you?" that sounds like a lot of effort on my part. What do you even want from me? I don't know. Do you want careers advice? Are you going to ask me for a job recommendation? You're leaving too much to the unknown. And the other thing is, it can come across a bit fake as well. If you ask me, "How are you?" and I tell you I'm not feeling great, do you even care? The next mistake is when people go the other way and they send a really long message with lots of questions. And this is slightly annoying for me because when I get a message from someone and in the first message they've asked 10 questions, well, there's a lot of information that's available online. So the first thought that pops into my head is, have you actually done any research online before you've come to me? Remember, when you're networking, you're looking for advice and guidance, but there's a fine line between seeking advice and guidance and expecting someone to just spoon feed you the answers to the questions that you should already know the answer to. The other negative with that approach is, remember what I said about effort. If you send someone a long list of questions, they're probably going to look at it and think that's a lot of effort. It's going to take me a lot of time to respond to all of these questions, so I'll come back to it later. And then what's very common is that that person forgets and they never end up responding. Next is for those who ask for calls, and it's linked to my earlier point about being direct. Make it as easy as possible for the person to respond to you. Now, my own personal circumstances mean that I can only offer paid for calls, but you may want to catch up with a trainee over Teams, phone, face-to-face. And when I say make it easy for them, give them all the information they need and make sure you make it as convenient as possible for them. "Hey Fazan, can we please catch up for 15 minutes on Microsoft Teams so I can get your advice and guidance on how to decide between multiple job offers I received? I can flex my diary so I can be free during the evenings and weekends if it's more convenient for you. And if it makes sense, I'm more than willing to come down to your offices so we can catch up over a quick coffee." It's short, to the point, I know what you're after, and you've included all the key information. The final sentence about the coffee wasn't needed, but I included that because I always advise people, if you can, meet people face to face. It's much easier to build relations with someone in front of you rather than virtually. Another mistake is where people have a very basic or a bare profile. Make sure you have a good profile because humans are naturally curious. If you message someone, they may click on your profile to find out more about you. Have a professional photo. Obviously, for Muslims, make sure it's within the boundaries of what Islam allows. You may not have a lot of work experience, but that doesn't mean you can't fill in all the education sections. And obviously have a few short punchy phrases below your profile photo. Maybe you can write along the lines of aspiring graduate interested in consultancy. It's short, to the point, and I find out something about you straight away when I click on your profile. Now, in an ideal world, none of this should matter. But unfortunately, the reality is that unconscious bias exists and people do make assumptions based on people's profiles. So in my opinion, people are more likely to respond to a profile which looks like It has a lot of effort put into it compared to a bare, very basic profile. The final point I want to make is that once you've built a relationship, maybe someone has helped you secure an early careers role, don't let that relationship go cold. Check in with them every couple of months because you never know where you and they may end up in the future. Right now, they've helped you secure an early careers role, but in the future, they may help you secure a promotion, or you may be able to help them. The opportunities are truly endless. Inshallah, I'll leave it there, guys. As always, any questions or queries, please feel free to comment below or message me on Instagram.